I want to welcome you back to the podcast, How to Play the Game of College. I even wore my t-shirt, Jeremy, today, man, to put up the podcast. Super, super excited to have this guest on today. As you know, we're in season 3. I've done over 20 interviews over the past 2 seasons, but this season, I want to be intentional about the theme of keeping it real when it comes to college. And I want to be really intentional about the guests that I bring in. And so today, without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Jeremy Butler to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, my guy.
I appreciate it, my brother. I'm happy to be here, man. You're doing a bunch of great things. I'm glad you thought about me, man.
Man, the honor is all mine, man. And so we'll go ahead and get started, Jeremy. If you can, just give us a brief overview. Who are you? Who's Jeremy Butler?
Yeah. So who is Jeremy Butler? That's a good question. As of now, a husband, a father, a mentor, speaker, author. Just published a book. But who is Jeremy Butler? I would say a little bit about myself. Just recently retired from playing sports. I've been playing football all my life.
Yeah.
Retired from NFL. And from that, I jumped right into entrepreneurship and found my lane in mentorship, consulting with schools, helping schools out with youth development, and now sharing my voice and telling my story to help inspire others.
Man, that is great. And that's why I really want to have you on here, man. I've been in the field of higher ed almost 2 decades, 20 years, right? And when I started out in higher ed, I was a recruiter, right? And you get every young male that wants to be in the NBA, they want to go to the NFL, right? And so I'm really glad to have you on here. And again, the season talks about keeping it real, right? And so can you go back and tell us your journey? I know you said you played ball for years. You were in the NFL, man, you college ball. Can you talk about like how that journey was from you and how you got to that point?
Yeah, so my journey into college, it wasn't easy. So I graduated high school. I actually had to go to junior college.
Okay.
Because of grades, it was just lack of recruiting. So I had to take, like I tell youngins now, that's the hardest route possible if you don't have your stuff together. So I actually had to take the junior college route, went out to California, and I went to a couple of junior colleges out there and kind of built some momentum as far as figuring my lane out, how I wanted to get into that next university. From junior college, I transferred. And once I made it to that level, I transferred to Tennessee Martin.
Okay.
Got there. That's when I really understood how to make college work for me. But up until that point, I was just figuring it out on the go. Like I was one of the first people in my family to actually go to college. So
Okay.
you can imagine I'm out here taking classes and it ain't like what you see on TV all the time. So I'm out here just trying to figure it out, on the fly. But by the time my junior year came around, I really had a grasp of managing my schedule and really making it work and, got a chance to graduate.
Okay. And I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, hey, you didn't have it all figured out. I think season 1 and season 2, I feel like I talked to folks that had it figured out. And so I'm like, we got to show the other side, right? The non-traditional, I like to call it the non-traditional route where, hey, I didn't have a 4.0 and I came and got this full scholarship and everything was great with college. I graduated, got this great job. That's not the case for most people, right? And so when we think about athletes, right, I know you mentioned, junior college. Can you talk about like going back to that, like what did that afford you in order to transfer to the University of Tennessee at Martin?
So with junior college, it was rough going through it, but man, some of my greatest lessons and some of my greatest like preparation moments for being at a university came from college. So I went out to California, so I didn't have the luxury of being at home.
Okay.
Went out to California, I had to go out there, and being on my own made me grow up a lot faster than I wanted to.
And Jeremy, where is home for you?
Sarasota, Florida.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, on the other side of the country. I stayed tough, man. I stayed tough. But when I left out, so I was out in junior college and having to get an apartment, having to pay bills. Mom ain't waking me up for class no more.
Right.
Having to manage a schedule and make sure I know where I got to be at and making sure everything makes sense. Coming home, having to feed myself, cooking.
Yeah.
Having grocery and manage bills and then manage my time, my schedule, my classes, making sure I'm not just taking any class. So junior college really it prepared me for going to a university campus. By the time I got into a university, my junior year, it was easy. Like I knew guidance counselor, I got to get a relationship with them. Let me make sure I get my books for the semester. FAFSA, financial aid, let me go and get all of that sorted out, pay my bills up. get my grocery budget in place, where my class is at, so I know how to get to and where from. So,
Right.
got
Okay.
me.
Yeah, I love how you said that. It's kind of like a stepping stone, right? We talked.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had another guest who I had on earlier in the season who actually works at a community college, or some call it junior college, right? That the benefits of attending. And in the chapter of my book, I start off my book talking about college fit, right? So going to the college that's going to set you up for success, number one, and where you feel most comfortable. I had another guest who went to this big HBCU, well-known HBCU, but had the worst experience because guess what? It was not for him, right? And so you have to really figure out, what's for you, what's going to set you up for success, and what's going to get you to the next level, because that's what it's all about, keeping moving and moving forward, right? And so very, very important. Okay, so again, I'm kind of honing in on the sports part of it because, okay, so you got to UT Martin and you were playing football there, right? Can you talk about like you playing in college and being an athlete, right? And like, when did you get the call to play professional football? Can you kind of go back to that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mentioned when I transferred from the junior college, I already had my 2 years, so now I'm a junior on campus. So I'm a junior
Okay.
at Tennessee University. But playing ball, it was a whole different world because at a junior college, I would say most junior colleges are like big high schools, like real big public high schools. So it's a lot, like probably
Okay.
around the same demographic of kids, the same amount, same classroom size. But when I went to a university, it was everything multiplied, everything bigger,
Oh,
more
okay.
students in the classroom, more students on campus. So when I got to a university and I'm playing ball,
Mm-hmm.
everything was moving so fast because it's like I got to do so many hours with practice, film,
Okay.
training, cafeteria. But then at the same time, I got my class schedule.
Okay.
It felt like I had two jobs. Felt like I was working two jobs. I
Mm-hmm.
had to make them mesh, so I had to make sure this class didn't mess up my schedule with being to practice and making sure I can, be where I got to be at for football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to make sure football didn't get in the way of me getting my degree because, like my mom always made it known, I know you play football, but you are a student athlete first.
Man, I
It
like how you
comes
said
first.
that. Yeah.
So I had to get those grades, so I had to make sure my grades was on point way before football. So everything in my schedule had to align, man. It was pretty rough, like, but
Yeah. Yeah.
again, by junior year, I knew how to ask questions. I knew how to go to the guidance counselor. I knew how to go to my coaches and say, "Hey, this is
Mhm.
what I have on this side of the table. Can you guys help me align this a little better?"
Right.
On
Okay.
the football field and in the classroom.
Okay. Okay. I like how you said that. And again, I think a lot of times folks think like, hey, you're a student athlete, you got it easy, you got all these resources. I would hear, working in higher ed, and I'm glad you're calling it out. A lot of times people think like athletes, they have it super easy. They got, you know, tutors, right? They got support, they got food on campus, and hey, cry me a river, right? You get all these things.
Same with
But
sport.
like you said, hey, I still got to make sure because, like you said, student athlete. I'm a student first. I got to make sure I'm maintaining my grades. I got practice. I'm trying to balance both. It could be a lot, right, for a student athlete. And so let me ask you. So did you finish at UT Martin, or how did that look for you?
I left early, so when I got that call,
Okay.
like, so when I got that call to go to the NFL, I still had like a spring left of like credits to take.
Oh, okay. So you were at UT
Around the
Martin
prep time.
maybe a year and a half, and you got a
I left a little early, went to the NFL, and after my rookie year, thank God my coaches allowed me to come back on campus, and so I came back. So after my first year in the NFL, I actually came back to the campus because, like I mentioned, I wanted to graduate from my mom. Like, that's one thing I said. Like,
man.
so I came back. I didn't have to, but I came back
Yeah.
and humbled myself and made sure, like, man, I got to get these classes. And what was interesting, this is the difference between being a student athlete and being a student. Student athlete, I probably averaged out at around, I'm gonna be honest, like 2.7,
Okay.
2.6.
Okay.
But once I took away, like, I didn't have athletics and being a student. So when I came back as a rookie, my GPA was straight 3.0. All I had was classes, study. I was in them books. I could be able to go to the library. I can go to ask for help, get study groups. Like, I really took advantage of just being a student for the first time. And that's when college felt like a completely different experience for me.
Oh, okay, good. And that's very good to hear. Like you said, being able to go back and finish the journey, which is huge because a lot of folks don't do that, right?
No, no, no.
Yeah, hey, I made it to NFL, and how was that call for you? It's a year and a half later, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about when you got that call? Because many folks don't get the call, right? So,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Can you talk about that?
it was everything
Mm,
everything I wanted it to be. Like
okay.
as a kid, like it don't feel real until you actually get there and you start to see guys that I used to play the video game with you. I used to play Madden with you,
Man.
right? My poster, but I can't say these things. But in the inside, I'm just like, but I still gotta act like that's my peer, like that's my teammate. So
Yeah,
I dreamed of, like I envisioned myself getting that call and being able to go and play in the NFL. When I
man.
got and it was a dream come true. And I just started thanking a lot of people because I know like going the junior college route, going in undrafted,
Yeah,
having to get it out of the mud. I'll never say I'm self-made. So it was so many different people. I was texting old coaches,
yeah.
guys, counselors, people who helped me get my credits together. Like I was reaching out to everybody, like, thank you. Like all of y'all are part of this journey as well. So amazing to get that call.
Man, and I love how you say it takes a village. I think that's
Yeah.
just in life, period. And I talk about that in a book, man. And a chapter is called "It Takes a Village." So many times, folks, especially students, they come in and they like, "Hey, I got this on my own. I'm good," but everyone needs help, man. I'm about to, I'm telling my age. I'm about to be 44, man. This year is crazy. Oh man,
Still a young man. You're still a
uh,
young man.
but I still call her so many people that help me to do what I get to do on a daily basis, right? And so I love how you giving credit to coaches, to advisors, to your mom, and so many people that really help you to get to where you are today, man. And it's huge. And how long did you play football in the
I
NFL?
played in the NFL 5 seasons. I played 5 years.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So again, thinking about just say the athlete that's watching this particular podcast, right? Do you know the data, right? It says like, hey, how many folks don't go to the NFL or NBA?
It used to be like a generic like
Yeah.
percentage, around 3%.
Yeah.
Like 3% of athletes like make it, so 97% don't.
Yeah.
But like the more modern data they're showing, because there's more schools, there's more kids playing, trying out. So
Mhm.
now, man, I think it's about 1.5 more accurately.
Wow. Okay.
1.5% athletes go. So 98, a lot, like,
Yeah.
and 1 in 10, like
Man.
it's
Man.
rare to go, and it's even rare to play beyond 2 years. I think the average career is
Yeah.
about a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
Even when you get there, that's a whole nother animal of
Yeah. Man.
90% of guys ain't playing more than a couple of years, like 2 years maybe.
Got you, got you. And so I guess what could we say? Again, I feel like when I'm in high school, so again, everybody wants to be the next LeBron or Deion Sanders or whoever the case may be, right? Because again, I feel like we live in this world where, I like to say insta moments, Instagram, right? Facebook, and they're seeing the lifestyle. And hey, in order for me to get this lifestyle, I have to be this football player or this basketball player.
Yeah.
What would you say to the student who, I guess, just coming fresh out of high school? Again, the theme of this season is keeping it real, right? If they want to be in your shoes, right? What type of advice would you give that particular person to get to that point?
So I would say for one, especially to anybody that's looking to aim for just the athlete success or
Sure.
overnight success, I would say for one, I played ball 15, 16 plus years before I even had an opportunity to get to the
Yeah,
league.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just I had 15, 16 years of like grinding. So you got to think of that. Like, there ain't no shortcuts.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
one.
Mm,
Two, I would say, and this is kind of like the framework of what I teach now is, if you're willing to commit yourself to a cause that may or may not work for you, you're gonna have to learn these skills. You're gonna have to be dedicated. You're gonna have to work with others. You're gonna have to, allow yourself to be coached by other people. You're gonna have to really be pushed to your limit physically, which is like
mhm.
the hardest work, pushed physically. If you're willing to do that for an opportunity to get NFL or NBA success,
Right.
I have no problem with you pursuing that. And I think you should absolutely, everybody should aim for it.
Yeah.
You don't make it.
Mm,
You need to be realistic with having it's not a plan B,
yeah.
having a part of your plan where I need to be realistic about when this opportunity is over.
Hmm.
And all those same habits you just learned, the discipline, that drive, that resiliency, that focus, that determination you show to get to that goal.
Right.
Like I always will like put this in their mindset. If you can do it for sports, then you should be able to too. When that sports line in, transition all those skills and habits you learned into yourself to where you can
Man.
be successful in any career. Because
Yeah,
that's not the only path where they're kicking out millionaires. It's not the
that's
only path
true.
you making life changing money. That's not the only path that you can be successful and have the things you want. So if you're gonna fight that hard for that, just make sure you keep that same energy if it
Yeah.
don't work. That's what I would tell every high school athlete.
Man, man. Yeah, you just said a lot right there, man. We can just stop the interview after that. I like how you said, anything you do in life, man, you got to put in the work, right? There's gonna be a lot of work. There's gonna be days that you do question why I'm doing this. There's gonna be a lot of disappointment. There's gonna be days that you have to reroute. You think going from A to B is gonna be easy, but you may have to jump to C first and come back to B. Hence, like you talked about with college, right? And so I like how that's a real piece of advice, right? That you tell student athletes, like hey, I wasn't new to this. I didn't start, my junior, senior year. I had been doing it for 15 years. I had to go a different route to junior college. I didn't give up. I worked hard. I like how you went to, UT Martin. I then got drafted. But then, like you said, hey, that's a whole nother podcast interview. I'm sure we could talk about life as an athlete, right? But man, that's why I really wanted to have you on here to really talk to those athletes and say, hey, I'm just going to go, I'm going to be an NFL player. And if I don't, man, life sucks. I'm giving up. And I go do some things that I probably should not be doing, right? And so again, you're saying, hey, put the same energy, same effort into doing something else, and you could be just as successful. Man, that's so great to hear. Yes, sir. And so that brings us to now, right? I remember you reaching out, the power of using the right way of social media. And I remember
Oh, yeah.
reaching out to me, social media, man, and we've been connected ever since. And just seeing your journey, man, in the speaking arena with your book and just the lives that you're touching, man. I'm just in awe of how I feel like you got to keep reinventing yourself. That's another part of life. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm Hannah Reach. I'm 44, but I got a lot more life to live, man. A lot of places to go, a lot of people to touch. And I see you doing that exact same thing. Can you tell us about what you're doing now? Yeah.
Leading with speaking, just sharing my story and speaking to students and athletes.
Okay.
Main groups I like to really speak to is the at-risk students. The students was at risk, falling behind, didn't really come from the best environment, but had potential to do something great. I just needed resources and somebody like myself to, help. So speaking to youth groups, speaking to youth organizations, schools, and then from there, actually building out mentoring programs. So it's one thing for me to come inspire you, but I would be wrong if I didn't try to actually put the people in the mentorship like myself and others around you to keep you inspired, to motivate you, to hold you accountable, really. All these kids got greatness in them. It's just somebody that believes in them enough and that they're willing to be accountable too. That's all they really need. So putting that mentorship program and framework around them as well, partnering with schools, youth organizations, helping them really develop our children. So that's just where I'm at now. Just finished putting the book out. It's doing great so far.
Let's go.
So I'm like the champion in you. So a life skills playbook for students and athletes.
Yeah.
Put that out. Actually revamped the podcast. So I had the podcast with me and my son. We revamped it a little bit. I want to protect him a little bit. I'm a dad, so
Yeah.
one or two slick comments towards my son, and I'm looking at your info. Where you at? Where you
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit, and let me keep him off camera as much and let him enjoy being a child. But he loves him, so just trying to revamp, lower down a little bit. But
Yeah.
those are the main things on my plate, man. Through the grace of God, I've been blessed. So
Man,
work.
again, I'm super inspired by you. Just again, meeting you from social media to now, and just watching the things that you're doing. So, just say, for example, someone wants to bring you out to their school district, to their college. How can they reach you? And also, how can they get your book, man?
Yeah, so the book is on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
You got the e-Kindle version. I know some of my millennials, we on that phone.
Right.
But over the crowd, you can go on Amazon, order the hard copy.
I'm the older cloud.
Amazon for you, and I can get you that link as well. And then for on my website, so jeremybutler.org.
Yeah.
Directly to the website, you get to see some of the programs I speak on, some of the topics. You get to see what other people are saying. I know I can tell you how great of a speaker I am, but listen to the educators, tell you what they've felt and what they've been able to experience from me speaking. And you can book directly on there, set up a time for us to talk, and we'll go from there.
Man, Again, that's great to hear, man. And again, we'll make sure to post those links. We want folks getting that book and
Yeah,
learning about your story through your speaking, through your mentorship training, and just all the great things that you're doing. Your podcast, man, and you got a lot of great interviews still on is it YouTube and some
yeah,
other platforms. Yeah, so we definitely want to get the word out about that, man. So in closing, man, you said some really great things. I'm just sitting
mm.
there like, man, I know these folks are taking some great notes. This video being shared amongst high school students, freshman students going to college. What's
Yeah,
one, again, the book is called How to Play the Game. And I feel like I'm
yeah,
dropping some major gems, man. Like if you read that book, I tell people I'm gonna get you to and through college. Like there's no doubt, right? And so just kind of looking over your life, man, looking over your life. And I do this some days, man, and I get caught up seriously just how good God is and how far he's brought me. And my goal is to help other young people as well. What's that one piece of advice that you can give to not only a student athlete, but anybody who's just trying to get, because life be lifing, man, for a lot of students, a lot of people. What's one advice that you can say, hey, do this and it will keep you going? What's that piece of advice you can give?
I would say it would be along the lines of like the game that when it's like with sports,
Mm-hmm,
we always
hmm
say, the game is 90% mental, 10% physical. It
Yeah,
don't feel like it when you get, blindsided. It don't feel like it, but it's true. Sports is 90% mental.
yeah,
And like
yeah.
my kids, like literally, I teach them, if sports is 90% mental, then life is 100% mental. And
Mm-hmm.
so the piece of advice I would give to anybody is you will never regret investing and developing into, your own personal development, just your
Man,
mental, how you approach life, your perspective. The one thing you can control in this world that God gave us control over is your perspective.
so true. So
You
true.
can't control nothing else, but you can control how you respond to it,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you understand it, how you react, and what you do after it happens. So just invest in your own personal development and mental development.
It's man, so great to hear. And again, it's going to help so many students. Man, a
Yeah.
part of this season, man, I love to give folks their flowers and I want to be intentional. So again, man, I believe God puts resources, and when I say resources, people in your life.
Yeah.
And I consider you one of those guys, man, younger, but man,
Appreciate it.
very inspired about what you're doing. I know we sometimes jump on calls or Zooms or we text messaging or voice messaging to kind of figure out, what's next or, hey, I got this idea. So, man, just appreciate your thought partnership and, man, just all that you have done, man. Again, I feel like this is just the beginning for you, man. You got a whole world, right? A whole world to touch
Right.
so many folks, man, and really help, especially our youth, man. When we think about helping folks, really helping our youth along. So, man, I want to thank you, brother. Thank you for being on the
Appreciate it.
podcast, man. And yes, we would make sure to have your links there and share that with the audience. But to the audience, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to blow this video up. I heard a young person say the other day, how many
Right.
day do we think we will have on this video? Just call out a number.
I go 1,500. I said 1,500.
Okay, we'll take that, brother. We'll take that. Yes, we'll take that, man. That means 1,500 folks are being helped by watching
Yeah.
the video.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a lot of people. Yeah. I said
yeah,
15.
yeah, exactly, man. So I want you all to help with that 1,500 by liking, comment, Jay, don't respond to the comments. Also share the video, subscribe to the channel. We again this season, I feel like in the past, great folks, but hey, I kind of had fluff questions, right? But this season, I want to have some people on here that's, like I said, keeping it real and then really have the traditional route, man. And so you are one of those folks. So again, every Wednesday, guys, I'm dropping these interviews. Make sure that you tune in. Again, share and subscribe. And again, we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Thank you.